One of the biggest surprises this season has been the Washington Wizards. Right now, they're sitting at second in the East. They're only a half game out of first behind the Brooklyn Nets. Um, I thought this team before the season, it looked like a playoff roster, at least a play-in game roster. I had no idea they were going to be as good as they've been. I kind of was looking through their basketball reference page just as an organization. They're actually on pace right now for the best season in Washington Wizards history, the third best in franchise history if you factor in the Bullets. But since they took over the name Wizards, they're as of right now they're on pace to have their best season yet, which I thought was crazy. Um, and really, the shocking part for them, I think, it has been their defense. I mean, their defense has been the story for them this year. Right now, they're seventh in points allowed, seventh in opposing field goal percentage, and second in opposing 3-point percentage. Uh, I guess the good news, even better news for them, Beal really hasn't been like spectacular this season like we've seen him in years past. He doesn't have to go every game driving to the arena knowing he's got to score 30, 40 points in order for them to even have a chance. His shooting number, I mean, his scoring has been down. He's at 24 a game. I mean, we're talking about last couple of years, a guy who's like near the top of the league in scoring. Like, last year he finished second, and it was very close. 43% field goals for him, 28% on threes. If he gets back to where we've seen him in prior years, this team could look really dangerous. One thing I want to talk about too, how good does that John Wall trade look right now? The Houston Rockets have basically just sat him down and have said, like, well, we're just not going to play him until we find a trade. The only problem is nobody wants to sign on for 2 years at 90 million, like 45 per year, 47 per year, something like that. And they somehow got out of that deal. They basically just shipped off Wall for Westbrook. They also gave up a lottery protected first round pick. Who cares? They end up then, last year they got a pretty good season out of Westbrook, especially when you look at what he's done for the Lakers this year. They got into the playoffs proper. They took a game in the playoffs. Pretty decent year, but then they turn around and trade Westbrook, and they get back a huge haul, which has been kind of the biggest change for this team. Just adding a bunch of actual NBA players. The last few years with the Wizards, every time I watched them, it was just like a who's who of like journeyman G League guys that were filling out the roster. I mean, they don't have to play guys like Garrison Matthews or Jordan McRae big minutes anymore. They've actually got like a well thought out and put together team here. So for that Westbrook deal, they end up getting Kentavious Caldwell Pope, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, Aaron Holiday. Then they also, because they clear up all that money that Westbrook was going to cost them, they're able to do a sign and trade for Spencer Dinwiddie at $18 million a year. What a deal for him! What a steal! I mean, they get him for a very affordable contract, and all these guys who they brought in have been difference makers for the team this year. I mean, KCP and Kuzma are starting. Montrez is their second leading scorer coming off the bench. And for the Lakers piece, particularly with Montrez, it's just crazy. It looked like it was pretty much over for him. Like he was not really able to find time on the court last year. And when he did, it didn't look good. I mean, he looks completely revitalized. Kuzma, I'm not as surprised at his success. He's been really good for them, 14-9 for Kuzma. The rebounding piece for him has been the most surprising. He's a really good rebounder. But as far as like him kind of flourishing outside of, the shadow of LeBron, it's not super surprising. Kind of wing players, especially somebody like Kuzma, who's not just a stand in the corner and shoot threes type player. We saw with Brandon Ingram, once he got out from LeBron's shadow, he really flourished as well. Kuzma, obviously, to a lesser degree than Ingram, but it's still not surprising to see him kind of do well for them. And then Caldwell Pope is just a solid player. I kind of ragged on him earlier on in his career. And, last night they were able to stave off the Heat. And he was a big reason why. And yeah, he just continues to make me pay for kind of making fun of him a little bit. But yeah, all those guys have been, obviously Dinwiddie as well has been a huge part, but that package that they got back in the Lakers deal has just really been what's kind of pushed them into the next tier of competitiveness in terms of this season. Yeah, and like I kind of mentioned earlier, they're winning with their defense. They're winning when Beal doesn't necessarily have as good of games. Last night, Beal wasn't spectacular by any means, and they were still able to gut out like a tough win. It looked like the Heat had it under control, like they were up 10 with 4 minutes to go, and the Wizards just kind of clawed their way back into it and ended up taking that game. Yeah, it's just a tougher group. It's just a much tougher team this year. And I guess looking forward to that for them, like they haven't had Hachimura yet this year or Thomas Bryant. Those are two, really solid players that haven't even, played for them this season. Other good thing for them, tons of tradable contracts on this team, young players like Kispert, Hachimura, Denny Avdia, Thomas Bryant, even guys that they can cash in if they want to make a move for a veteran that's going to help kind of push them over the top. Right now, I still kind of see them in the second tier of teams. I don't think they're quite a title contender, even though, their record would indicate that they might be. I still see them under like even Chicago to some degree, but definitely under Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Miami. I know they just beat Miami last night, but I still don't think they're as good of a team as Miami. Certainly not Brooklyn or Milwaukee. So they're going to need to make a move to kind of push themselves over the top. But as it stands now, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs. I could definitely wouldn't be shocked to see them make a second round appearance, or if something weird happens to one of the the really competitive teams in the East, they could sneak into a conference finals. But I still think they've definitely got moves to make. They finally have like some talent on the roster that they can try and cash in for like some veteran players. I guess the concerning thing for them, that Beal has a player option for next year, so he could leave. However, he's given no indication that he plans to do that. He seems like kind of hell-bent on staying on this Washington team for his entire career. And good for him and good for them for finally, having a really exciting team. I mean, if things continue as they have, you're looking at one of the best Wizards seasons in their franchise history.